The Galactic Council had ruled the stars for 12,000 years. 700 species followed their laws. Thousands of worlds paid tribute to their power. No one had ever said no to them. Ambassador Vrixton stood in the great hall of the council, his insect-like body towering over most other species. His forearms were clasped behind his back, and his compound eyes glowed with anger. He had come to deliver troubling news. "The humans have ignored us," he said. "We sent 17 messages. They answered none of them." 12 high arbiters sat on their thrones above him. These were the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Their word was law. Their decisions shaped the fate of entire civilizations. High Arbiter Selene leaned forward. She was an ancient being made of pure light, her form shifting between soft blues and greens. "Perhaps they did not understand our messages. They're a very young species." "They understood perfectly," Vrixton replied. "Our translators confirmed it. They simply chose not to respond." Whispers filled the great hall. Representatives from dozens of species had gathered to hear this news. None of them could believe it. A young species ignoring the council. It was unthinkable. The humans had been discovered only 30 years ago. They lived on a small blue planet called Earth, in an ordinary solar system at the edge of the galaxy. The council had labeled them as primitive and unimportant, but that judgment had been wrong in just 3 decades. The humans had done impossible things. They found a crashed alien ship and learned its secrets. They built their own faster-than-light engines. They spread to 9 new star systems. They created warships and weapons that made even the council nervous, and they did all of this without asking anyone for permission. "We cannot allow this," said Arbiter Kos. He was a reptile like Dravnari, with black scales that shined like polished stone. "The humans must come before this council and explain themselves. Then we should deliver the message ourselves," Selene suggested. "In person?" The hall went silent. A personal visit from the council was rare. It was both an honor and a warning. It meant the council was paying attention, and that could be very dangerous. "I will go," Vrixton announced. "I will make them understand their place in the galaxy." 3 weeks later, his diplomatic ship arrived above Earth. It was a beautiful vessel, almost 2 kilometers long, covered with the symbols of every major species. 6 warships followed behind it, their weapons clearly visible. Vrixton sent his message to the planet below. It was translated into every human language at once. "People of Earth, I am Ambassador Vrixton of the Galactic Council. You have been given a great honor. You will send your leaders to meet with the High Tribunal. Shuttle will arrive at your capital in 6 hours. Representatives will board it and come with us. This is not a request." Then he waited. 1 hour passed, then 2, then 3. The humans said nothing. "Ambassador," his communications officer said nervously, "they have not responded." Vrixton watched the planet through his viewing screen. Human cities glowed with light. Their aircraft flew normal patterns. Their broadcasts discussed ordinary things. It was as if the council did not exist. When the 6 hours ended, Vrixton sent his shuttle anyway. It landed near a large military building in a place called Geneva. The shuttle doors opened, and the Kelthari guards waited for the human leaders to arrive. 20 minutes passed before anyone came. A single man walked slowly toward the shuttle. He had gray hair and a tired face. His uniform was simple and dark, with no decorations. He stopped at the bottom of the shuttle ramp. "I am Admiral Kevin Price," he said. "You can tell your council that Earth says no." The guards looked at each other in confusion. This was not how things were supposed to happen. Primitive species always obeyed. They always bowed before the council's power. "Cannot refuse," one guard said. "The summons comes from the High Tribunal." Kevin Price smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Listen carefully," he said. "I do not know how things work in your part of space. But here on Earth, we have a rule. We do not negotiate with people who point guns at us and make demands." He turned and began walking away. "Wait," the guard called after him. "What message should we give the ambassador?" Price stopped and looked back over his shoulder. "Tell him we said no. I think he will understand." Then he walked into the building and disappeared. The shuttle returned to Vrixton's ship. The guards told him what had happened. For a long moment, the ambassador said nothing. His compound eyes stared at the blue planet below, trying to understand what had just occurred. A single human, a middle-ranking military officer, had simply refused the most powerful organization in the galaxy, and he had done it with a smile on his face. "This is impossible," Vrixton whispered. "No species has ever done this." "What should we do?" Zaid asked. Vrixton thought about his options. He could attack. 6 warships could do serious damage to Earth's defenses. But that would start a war, and wars were messy things. The Council preferred cleaner solutions. We return to the Council, he decided. We report what happened. Let the Arbiters decide the next step. As his ship prepared to leave, Vrixton took one last look at Earth. Such a small world, such a young species. They should have been terrified. They should have been begging for mercy. Instead, they had sent one man to deliver one word. No. Vrixton had lived for over 200 years. He had visited countless worlds and met countless species. He had seen empires rise and fall. But he had never seen anything like this. The humans were not afraid. That was the strangest part. They knew how powerful the Council was. They knew they were outnumbered and outgunned. And yet they stood their ground as if they were the strongest civilization in the galaxy. "They're either very brave or very foolish," his aide commented. "Perhaps both," Vrixton replied. "Perhaps that is what makes them dangerous." The ship jumped into hyperspace, carrying news that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. A new player had entered the game, a species that did not follow the old rules. A species that would rather fight than submit. The Council had ruled unchallenged for 12,000 years. But nothing lasts forever. And sometimes the greatest changes begin with a single word. Back on Earth, Admiral Kevin Price returned to his office. His aide was waiting for him with a worried expression. "Sir, are you sure that was wise? The Council could destroy us." Price sat down in his chair and looked out the window at the night sky. Somewhere up there, alien warships were flying away, carrying his message to the rulers of the galaxy. "Maybe," he said. "But I have learned something in my years of service. Bullies only understand one language. You have to show them you are not afraid. You have to stand up straight, look them in the eye, and tell them no. And if they come back with more ships?" Price smiled again, that same cold smile he had shown the alien guards. "Then we will say it louder." The Council chamber was in chaos.
How?
Representatives from hundreds of species shouted and argued. The news from Earth had spread quickly, and no one could believe it. They refused. Arbiter Koss slammed his clawed hand on his throne. A primitive civilization refused the High Tribunal? Ambassador Vrixton stood before the Arbiters with his head bowed. The shame of his failed mission burned inside him. He had been sent to bring the humans to heal, and instead he had been dismissed like an unwanted visitor. "They did more than refuse," he said. "They treated us as though we were nothing." One military officer delivered their answer. Not a king, not a president, a soldier. The observation galleries erupted in angry noise. Several representatives had to be held back by their aides. This was an insult beyond anything the Council had experienced in thousands of years. "Hi." Arbiter Selen raised a glowing tendril, and slowly the chamber became quiet. "We must think carefully about this. The humans know nothing of galactic politics. Perhaps they do not understand what they are rejecting." "Ignorance is no excuse," Vrixton said. "We explained everything clearly. They simply do not care about our authority. Then we will make them care," Arbiter Koss declared. "I propose we give them an ultimatum. 30 days to obey, or we use the pacification protocols." A ripple of unease passed through the chamber. The pacification protocols had not been used in 4,000 years. They were designed for species that threatened the stability of the galaxy, and they were brutal. Economic punishment, travel restrictions, and if needed, military force. "That seems too harsh," Solon said carefully. "So humans have not attacked anyone. They have only expanded into empty systems." "Empty systems within Kelthari territory," Vrixton interrupted. "By settling there without permission, they have made themselves our enemies. The Velnorians have similar complaints," another arbiter added. "The humans have been offering better trade deals to their client worlds. 3 planets have already asked to leave Velnorian control. This news caused another wave of angry shouting. If a young species could simply steal clients from established powers, the entire galactic order would collapse. "There is something else you should know," Vrixthon said, his voice dropping low. "Our spies have been watching human communications. Their discussions about us are very troubling." He activated a holographic display. A recording appeared, showing the humans talking on what seemed to be a news program. "Honestly, I think the whole thing is funny," one of them was saying. "These aliens show up with their big ships and their 12,000 years of history, and they expect us to just obey? Have they met humans? The question is what happens next. The Council will not accept our refusal. Let them try something. I am not saying we want a war, but if they push us, they will learn why no one has ever successfully invaded Earth. We do not surrender. We do not submit. It is not in our nature." The recording ended. The chamber was completely silent. "They laugh at us," Ka said, his voice shaking with rage. "They mock our power in their public broadcasts. More importantly," Vrixton added, "they are not afraid. Every species we have met has felt fear when they first learned about the Council. The realization that they are small in a vast universe. Humans seem to have skipped that entirely, because they are arrogant fools," Ka snapped. "Or because they know something we do not," Selene said quietly. That thought hung in the air like poison. How could a species barely 300 years into space travel have such confidence? "It does not matter," Vrixthon decided. "Whatever they believe, reality will correct them soon. I vote for the ultimatum. 30 days to comply, or we begin military preparations." The vote was quick and almost unanimous. Only Selene did not vote, her glowing form flickering with what might have been worry. The message was sent to Earth the next day. It appeared on every screen, in every language, across the entire planet. "People of Earth, your refusal to accept the authority of the Galactic Council has been noted. You are given 30 days to change your decision. Send your representatives to Council Station Omega-7 to formally accept our rule over human affairs. Failure to comply will result in the pacification protocols. This includes economic punishment, travel restrictions, and military action. This is your final warning." On Earth, the message was received calmly. President Catherine Mills addressed the world the next morning. She stood behind a simple podium, her voice steady and her eyes clear. "My fellow humans, you have seen the Council's ultimatum. They have given us 30 days to surrender to their control or face what they call pacification." She paused and allowed a small smile to cross her face. "I want to be very clear. We are not going to surrender. We are not going to negotiate. And we are certainly not going to be pacified." The assembly hall filled with applause. "I know some of you are worried. The Council has 700 species, thousands of warships, and technology beyond our own. On paper, we should have no chance." Her smile grew wider. "But you know what else we should not have been able to do? Build faster than light engines in 8 years? Create a fleet from nothing, spread across 9 star systems in 3 decades. Humanity has a long history of doing impossible things." She leaned forward, her eyes blazing. "Council thinks they can scare us into submission. They think we are just another weak species that will bow down when faced with superior force. They are about to learn a very hard lesson about human nature." Back in Council space, Vrixton watched the broadcast with growing unease. He had expected fear among the humans. He had expected arguments between their different nations. He had expected at least some of them to push for surrender. Instead, he saw unity. He saw defiance. He saw a species preparing for war with something that looked like excitement. "They are crazy," he muttered. "They actually want us to attack them." His aide shifted nervously beside him. "Perhaps they are bluffing. Surely they know they cannot win." Vrixton was not so sure. There was something in the humans' eyes. Something in their body language. Something in the way they spoke about the coming conflict. It was not bravado. It was not denial. It was anticipation. In his 200 years, Vrixton had conquered dozens of worlds. He had crushed rebellions and ended civilizations. He had always known exactly what his enemies were thinking. But the humans were different. They did not think like other species. They did not calculate odds and accept defeat when the numbers were against them. They fought even when fighting was foolish. They hoped even when hope was gone, and somehow that made them the most dangerous species the Council had ever faced. As the 30-day countdown began, both sides prepared for what was to come. The Council gathered its fleets. The humans built their defenses. And across the galaxy, other species watched with growing interest, because everyone understood that something was about to change. The old order was being challenged. The rules were being questioned, and no matter what happened next, the galaxy would never be the same. The 30 days ended with the whole galaxy watching. Council. Station Omega-7 floated near a dying red star at the edge of civilized space. It was a massive fortress, covered with weapons and shields. Around it hung the combined fleets of 17 species. Over 8,000 warships filled the darkness, their metal hulls glowing in the red starlight. The message to Earth was simple: send your representatives or face destruction. Inside the station, the High Arbiters waited in their grand chamber. Ambassador Vrixthon stood at the main console, ready to begin the formal surrender ceremony. Everyone expected the humans to arrive begging for mercy. Any sign of their ships? Arbiter Koss asked for the 5th time in an hour. Nothing yet, Vrixthon answered. They still have 3 hours before the deadline. They will not come, High Arbiter Salon said. Her glowing form had grown dimmer over the past weeks, as if weighed down by worry. I have studied their history and their stories. They do not bend. Then they will break, Koss replied coldly. 1 hour before the deadline, a sensor alert sounded across the station. Vrixthon checked the readings, and his compound eyes went wide. A ship is coming. Human design. He paused, looking more closely at the data. It is alone. Just one small frigate. Confused murmurs filled the chamber. The humans had sent one tiny ship against 8,000 warships. It was either a surrender or an insult. No one was sure which. Let them come closer, Koss ordered. Perhaps they have finally seen reason. The human vessel was called the Dawn's Light. It slowed to a stop at the edge of the fleet and waited. It made no aggressive moves. It sent no threats. It simply hung there in the darkness. Open communications, Vrixthon commanded. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the bridge of the human ship. Standing in the center was a woman in her 50s. She had steel-gray hair pulled back tight and ice-blue eyes that seemed to look right through the screen. Her uniform bore the symbol of the United Earth Defense Council. I am Admiral Samantha Cole, she said. Her voice was flat and calm. I am here to deliver humanity's formal response to the Galactic Council's ultimatum. You may speak, Vrixthon said, trying to hide his nervousness. Cole nodded slightly. The Galactic Council has demanded that humanity submit to its authority and accept its rule. You have threatened us with punishment, isolation, and war if we refuse. That is correct, Arbiter Koss interrupted. And you have 1 hour to comply. Choose your next words carefully, Admiral. Cole's expression did not change. If anything, she looked almost bored. The United Earth Defense Council, speaking for all humanity, has told me to deliver the following response to your ultimatum. She paused. The entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. No. The word echoed through the chamber like thunder. Vrixthon waited for her to continue. Surely there was more. A negotiation offer. A compromise. Something that would let both sides save face. But Cole just stood there, hands clasped behind her back, her gaze steady and unmoving. That is it? Koss demanded. That is your response? One word? What more needs to be said? Cole replied. You made your demands clear. We refuse. One word is enough, you foolish creature, Koss snarled. Do you understand what you have done? You have doomed your entire species. Our fleet will turn your worlds to ash. Your civilization will be erased from history. Cole smiled. It was the kind of smile that made Vrixthon feel very uncomfortable. Arbiter, I have been a soldier for 31 years. I have studied every war in human history, and many from your records as well. I noticed something interesting about your pacification protocols. She leaned slightly forward. They have never been used against a species that fought back. Because no species has been stupid enough to try, Koss spat. Or because you have never faced a species like us. Cole's smile faded, replaced by something harder. Something dangerous? You have spent 12,000 years building your empire. You conquered anyone who would not bow. You absorbed anyone who seemed useful. You have forgotten what it is like to face an enemy who would rather die than submit. You will die, Koss promised. All of you, maybe, but so will many of you. Cole glanced at something off-screen, then nodded. My ship has finished scanning your fleet. 8,417 vessels. Very impressive. But I wonder how many of those crews signed up for a war of extermination. How many are willing to die just to crush a species that wants to be left alone? She stepped closer to the camera, her eyes boring into the lens. I have read your history too, Arbiters. The Kelthari subjugation wars, the Valnorian trade massacres, the complete destruction of the Orlani people. You pretend to be a civilized government, but you are just a protection racket with better ships. And like all bullies, you are only brave when you are certain you can win. We are certain, Vrixton said, but his voice had lost its earlier strength. Then attack. Cole spread her arms wide. My ship is right here. 1 frigate against 8,000 warships. It should take you about 3 seconds to destroy us. Go ahead, no one moved. That is what I thought. Cole lowered her arms. You came here expecting us to grovel, to beg, to fall in line like every other species you have ever met. Instead, you've got one word. No. And now you do not know what to do. She turned as if to leave, then paused and looked back over her shoulder. Tell your master something for me. Humanity did not crawl out of the mud, survive ice ages and plagues and 2 world wars, and claw our way to the stars just to kneel before a bunch of bureaucrats who think they own the galaxy. Her voice dropped to something almost like a whisper, but it carried through the entire chamber. You want a war? You will get one. But I promise you this. By the time it ends, you will wish you had just left us alone. The transmission ended. In the council chamber, no one spoke for a very long time. Finally, Salone broke the silence. What do we do now? Kaz opened his mouth to give the attack order, but the words would not come. He thought about the human woman's eyes, cold and certain and completely unafraid. He thought about her smile, and for the first time in his 300 years of life, Arbiter Kaz felt something he had never experienced before. He felt doubt, Admiral. Hell had come to them with nothing but a single frigate and a single word. She had faced the most powerful military force in galactic history, and she had made them hesitate. That was the moment everything changed. Not with a great battle or a dramatic victory, but with one woman standing alone against impossible odds and refusing to be afraid. The humans had sent their message. Now the council had to decide how to respond, and for the first time in 12,000 years, they were not sure what to do. The Galactic Council voted for war 12 hours after Admiral Cole's transmission. The decision was not unanimous. 400 species voted yes. 200 voted no. 100 did not vote at all, but the result was clear. The humans would be punished. The fleet mobilized immediately. 8,000 warships divided into 7 groups, each assigned to a different human colony. The plan was simple. Attack everywhere at once. Do not give the humans time to gather their forces. Ambassador Vrixthon commanded the group sent to Earth itself. It was both an honor and a curse. If the attack succeeded, he would be remembered as the one who brought humanity to its knees. If it failed, well, failure was not something he wanted to think about. The journey took 3 weeks. When the fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, Vrixthon immediately ordered a full sensor scan. Port, he commanded. His tactical officers studied the displays with obvious confusion. Ambassador, I am detecting much more activity than expected. The whole system is full of construction. Explain. The asteroid belt has been heavily mined. There are factories around every major planet, and the inner system is filled with defensive platforms. Vrixen leaned forward in his command chair. How many platforms? Over 12,000 individual stations, Ambassador. And they are all armed. Cold feelings spread through Vrixen's body. The humans had not spent the past month crying and waiting for death. They had been building. What about their fleet? Holding position near Earth. About 600 warships. The officer paused. Ambassador, those ships are much larger than our intelligence, reports said. Their energy signatures are unlike anything we have seen before. 600 against 2,000, the numbers still favored the Council. But those defensive platforms could cause serious problems. And there was something else. Something that bothered Vrixen even more than the numbers. The humans had known this attack was coming. And instead of running or hiding, they had prepared. We continue as planned, Vrixen decided, though his voice lacked confidence. All ships advance. The fleet moved forward in perfect formation. A wall of metal and weapons that had crushed countless worlds before. At the center of the human formation, a single ship began transmitting. Admiral Cole appeared on the screen once again. Ambassador Vrixen, I was hoping we would meet again. This is your last chance, Admiral. Lower your shields and surrender, or we will destroy you. Cole actually laughed. Nobody is forcing you to do this. You chose to come here. You chose to bring a fleet. And now, you have to live with what happens next. You cannot win. Our numbers are greater. Numbers are not everything, Ambassador. Let me give you a history lesson. In 1836, a small group of human soldiers defended a place called the Alamo against an army 20 times their size. They lost that battle, but they delayed the enemy long enough for their allies to regroup and win the war. She continued, her voice growing stronger. In 1940, a few hundred pilots defended an island nation against the most powerful air force on Earth. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and everyone expected them to be crushed. They won. She stepped closer to the camera. Humans do not fight because we think we can win. We fight because we refuse to lose. There is a difference. Pretty words, Vrixen said. But words do not stop our weapons. No, Cole agreed. But this might. She pressed a button on her console. Suddenly, the Council fleet's sensors went crazy. Thousands of new contacts were appearing throughout the system. From behind asteroids, from the surfaces of moons, from hidden positions in the darkness between planets, not hundreds of ships, thousands. You see, Ambassador, we have been busy, Cole said. While you were voting and arguing and celebrating your coming victory, we were working. Every factory, every shipyard, every person who could hold a tool has been building around the clock. Vrixen stared at the tactical display in horror. The human fleet now outnumbered his own by at least 3-1, and more contacts kept appearing. How is this possible? He whispered. Because you underestimated us. You looked at our small colonies and our simple technology, and you saw an easy target. You never wondered what we could become when we had something to fight for. Cole's voice hardened. You gave us 30 days to prepare. We have had months. Months? We knew you were coming, Ambassador. We have known since before your first ship entered our solar system. One benefit of being a young, primitive species is that no one thinks to encrypt their communications around us. Vrixen felt his world crumbling. Every assumption had been wrong. Every prediction had failed. The humans had been watching them, learning from them, preparing for them. You have two choices, Cole continued. You can order your fleet to attack, and we can destroy each other in a war that will cost millions of lives. Or you can leave. Go back to your council. Suggest they find something better to do with their time. If we retreat, we will return with 10 times this force. We will be ready for that too. We will always be ready. That is who we are. We are the species that walked on our moon using computers weaker than a children's toy. We split the atom. We mapped our own genes. We invented weapons that could destroy ourselves completely, and then chose not to use them. She spread her arms wide. We are not going to be scared by a bunch of alien politicians who think size equals strength. She smiled, and this time there was something almost warm in it. Go home, Ambassador. Tell your council that humanity is not their enemy. We do not want to conquer anyone. We do not want to join their club. We just want to be left alone to build our own future. Is that really too much to ask? Rixton looked at his tactical display. He looked at his crew, their faces pale with fear. He thought about what he knew about humans now. Their stubbornness, their courage, their absolute refusal to accept defeat. He thought about what it would cost to fight them, and he made a decision. All ships stand down. Prepare to withdraw. His tactical officer stared at him. Ambassador? You heard me. We are leaving. The Council fleet began to turn. Their engines powered up for the jump to hyperspace. As they retreated, Cole's final message echoed through their ships. Thank you, Ambassador. You made the right choice. Number W, please, for everyone's sake, convince the rest of your council to do the same. The fleet vanished into hyperspace. Leaving human space behind, Admiral Cole watched them go, then slowly let out the breath she had been holding. Her first officer said carefully, Did we really have enough ships to beat them? Cole shook her head. Not even close. Half those contacts were empty drones with fake signals. We had maybe 1,000 real warships. Then how did you know they would retreat? Cole smiled and sank into her command chair. Because bullies are all the same, Lieutenant. They are only brave when they are sure they can win. Take away that certainty, and they run. She looked out at the stars, where the last council ships were disappearing. Let us hope they are smart enough not to come back. Across human space, people celebrated in the streets. They had faced the greatest military power in the galaxy and made it blink. They had stood their ground against impossible odds, and they had won, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through courage, through determination, through the simple human refusal to give up. No matter how bad things looked, the war was not over. The Council would be back. Everyone knew that. But for one shining moment, humanity had proven something important. They were not afraid, and they never would be. The Galactic Council met 3 days after Vrixton's fleet returned home. The Great Chamber was in chaos. Representatives from hundreds of species screamed at each other. Some demanded revenge. Others called for peace. The High Arbiters struggled to keep order. This is a disaster. Arbiter Koss raged. His black scales flushed dark with anger. We sent the largest fleet in Council history, and we ran away without firing a single shot. We have become a joke. He had no choice, Frixton replied. His voice was heavy with exhaustion. The humans had built defenses far beyond anything we expected. An attack would have cost us terribly, so we just accept their defiance? We let a young species tell the most powerful organization in the galaxy what to do. High Arbiter Selene had grown brighter since the fleet returned. Perhaps we should accept that the humans are not what we thought. They never were. We simply saw what we wanted to see. The observation galleries fell silent. The humans have shown abilities that match many of our best species, Selene continued. They have discipline. They adapt quickly. They think strategically. And they did all this because we threatened them. What are you saying? Koss demanded. I am saying we have been looking at this wrong. We saw the humans as a problem to solve, a pest to eliminate. But what if they are something else? What else could they be? An opportunity, the word hung in the air, confusing everyone who heard it. Think about their history, Selene said. In less than 300 years, they went from primitive rockets to faster-than-light travel. They copied Velnorian technology in under 10 years. When we threatened to destroy them, they built a fleet that scared us in just weeks. These are not the actions of an inferior species. These are the actions of a civilization with amazing potential. Koss asked bitterly. Destruction. Potential for anything. The humans are aggressive. Yes, stubborn, proud. But they are also creative and loyal to their friends. Imagine what they could do as partners instead of enemies. Vrixton stirred uncomfortably in his place. You want to offer them membership in the council? After everything that happened? No. I want to offer them something better. Independence. full recognition as a free civilization with complete control over their own affairs. In return, we establish formal relations, trade agreements, and perhaps, eventually, friendship. They will never agree, Kos objected. They have made it clear they want nothing to do with us, and want nothing to do with being conquered. That is not the same thing. Selen's form glowed with warm golden light. The humans do not hate us. They simply refuse to be controlled. If we approach them as equals instead of subjects, they may surprise us. The debate went on for hours, but in the end, Selen's idea passed by a narrow vote. A new group would be sent to human space, not with warships and threats, but with open hands and an offer of friendship. Admiral Cole received the visitors personally. She listened to their proposal with the same blank face she had worn throughout the crisis. She asked questions but gave no hint of her own thoughts. When the council representatives finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "You want to be our friends?" she finally said. "After threatening to destroy us, after surrounding our worlds with warships, after trying to force us to surrender, now you want to shake hands and pretend none of that happened?" "We want to move forward," the lead diplomat said carefully. "We believe it would help both sides. Maybe it would." Cole walked to a window that looked out at the blue curve of Earth. "You know what is funny? This is what we wanted from the beginning: recognition, respect, the right to live on our own terms. If you had offered this at the start, we would have said yes immediately. We were too proud to consider it." "Yes, you were." She turned back to face them. "But pride is something humans understand well. We have made plenty of mistakes ourselves. The question is whether you have actually learned from this, or whether you are just waiting for another chance to crush us." "I cannot speak for every member of the council," the diplomat admitted, "but many of us have been deeply changed by what we saw. The humans showed us something we had forgotten. Strength is not measured in ships or territory. It is measured in the will to stand for something greater than yourself." Cole was quiet, then slowly nodded. "We will consider your offer. It will take time. There is a lot of anger on our side, and it will not disappear quickly. But if you truly want a new relationship, we are willing to see what that might look like." The diplomat bowed. "That is all we can ask." 6 months later, the Treaty of Seoul was signed in a ceremony watched across the galaxy. Humanity was formally recognized as a free civilization with full rights under galactic law. Trade agreements were created. Cultural exchanges began. For the first time in 12,000 years, the Council had accepted a new member on equal terms at the signing ceremony. President Catherine Mills gave the main speech. She talked about humanity's journey from Earth to the stars. She talked about the challenges they had faced and the ones still coming. She talked about hope and fear, war and peace. At the end, she quoted the word that had started everything. When the Council demanded our submission, we gave them one word: no. That word changed everything. It proved that even the smallest voice can shake the greatest empire if it speaks with enough courage. She looked out at the assembled delegates, human and alien together. But no is only the beginning. It tells you what you are against, not what you are for. So today I want to offer a different word, a word that represents everything humanity has learned on this journey to the stars. She smiled, and in that smile was all the stubborn, defiant, gloriously impossible spirit of the species that had refused to bow. Yes to friendship. Yes to working together. Yes to building a future as partners. Yes to everything we can become if we have the courage to reach for it. The chamber exploded in applause. Delegates from hundreds of species rose to their feet, united for one brief moment in something like hope. Somewhere in the crowd, Ambassador Vrixton found himself clapping too. He still did not fully understand humans. He suspected he never would. But he had learned to respect them, and maybe that was enough. The galaxy had changed forever. It would never go back to the way it was before. And perhaps that was exactly what it needed. A young species from a small blue planet had stood against the oldest power in the galaxy. They had refused to kneel. They had refused to be afraid. And in the end, they had not just survived, they had won not through violence or conquest. but through the simple, powerful act of standing up and saying no, of refusing to accept that might makes right, of believing that courage matters more than numbers. The humans had taught the galaxy a lesson it had forgotten long ago. And the galaxy, slowly and painfully, was beginning to learn. This was only the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history. There would be more challenges ahead. More conflicts, more moments when everything hung in the balance. But now, Galaxy knew something important about the strange, stubborn species from Earth. They would not give up. They would not back down. And whatever came next, they would face it together, one word at a time.